Hi guys, Alistair down at Lytham Golf Academy, and today we're going to teach you how to play the perfect punch shot. Right then guys, so hopefully you guys don't have to play in as much wind as I do on the Fylde coast, but we're all looking for that shot that when it's into a strong wind that we can control the trajectory and still get a really good distance on our shots. It's incredibly hard when guys try and hit it hard into the wind and it balloons. Next minute they take 2 clubs extra, hit it soft, goes miles through the green. So understanding the correct technique to play the perfect punch shot is going to help you control trajectory, help you control backspin, and ultimately hit that perfect punch every single time. So guys, if you're enjoying the video and it's your first time down, click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, make sure you find out as soon as I drop my videos. But for now, let's get on with how to play the perfect punch shot. Right then guys, so the perfect punch shot. Now, I live on the Fylde coast in England, northwest England. So generally speaking, what I would consider a fairly still day is normally probably 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, but we do get some very, very strong winds here. So the ability for me to control my trajectory, not just into the wind, but on crosswinds is really, really key. So I'm going to hit just a kind of a stock 6-iron, show you kind of the height I hit it, kind of give you an idea on that. And then we're going to talk about maybe how some of you guys have been told to play the punch, why that maybe doesn't quite work, and actually what we would be better to do to control that trajectory. Even though we're going to stay on the same club, we're not going to take extra club. So normal 6-iron for me. Right then, so we can see my stock 6-iron there, kind of just over 182 yards carry, height 118 feet, angle of attack 2.7 degrees down, and backspin just under 5,600. So when we look at optimizer there, very, very perfect yardage on carry, maybe just launch it a little high, spin it a fraction less than I should. Slightly steeper angle of attack would probably take care of those, but all in all, I'd be very, very happy with those numbers. So generally speaking, I hit the ball fairly high, and I don't mind that. Decent spin and a good descent angle means that I can stop the ball pretty quickly on the greens. The negative to hitting it high like that is potentially in the last third of the flight, the ball can kind of get blown around a bit, and into the wind, it just stalls and doesn't really go anywhere. So certainly for me as a kid growing up at St Anne's Old Links, really wanted to hit a lot of low shots. And when I first moved to Old Links, I used to hit it probably even higher than I do now. So I was always told that the key to a good punch shot is to hit down, to move the golf ball back in the stance, opposite my right foot, and really feel like I kind of pound down through the shot. So I'm going to hit one of those, and I always found that the trajectory set off nice and low, but I always found it just used to balloon into the wind and actually didn't go anywhere. So let's just hit one back foot, and then we'll look at the numbers. So we can see with the kind of traditional way, or the way many of us have been told to play that punch shot, my angle of attack gets a lot steeper. Now, as a result of that, it's still keeping my spin loft. It has come down, and it's down to 22 degrees, but still marginally higher than I would want. And even though my peak height has dropped from 118 feet down to 81, still a lot of backspin there. So any of that shot, particularly into the wind, would probably balloon a little bit more and actually go a little bit shorter. Just being in normalized mode, it's taking the wind off there. But I'm ideally looking to keep the spin as well as the trajectory down to maximize that distance and control the flight into the wind. So guys, even though the flight was lower and it launched a lot lower, we saw the backspin actually wasn't really any different. And the reason for that is spin loft. And that is the difference between the angle that the ball launches from the club and the angle that the club attacks the golf ball. So that wedge that's created is the amount of spin. Now, what we tend to do when we just hit down is we just move the whole wedge down. So the ball launches lower, but we hit down more. And the key then is there's still as much backspin. So that shot there, you know, would set off nice and low, but certainly into the wind would just balloon and be very soft at the end. So ideally, what we're looking to do, if that's my normal spin loft, I'd like to keep the angle of attack the same. keep it nice and shallow, and then keep the loft off so the energy's going forward longer. It's going to keep the flight down, but it's going to keep the spin down, and that then should help me maximize my distance into the wind. So the way I'm going to do that is where I was always told to move the ball back in the stance. Now all that does is if my low point's still up here, I'm just incredibly steep into the back of the ball. So actually what I'm going to work on is I'm actually going to move the ball just very slightly further forward in my stance compared to normal. And my real key focus is I'm going to try and keep the handle forward and keep the loft off the golf club. If I can do that, it keeps my angle of attack pretty much the same, gets the loft down, it'll close that spin loft down, and we should see a nice low flight, but with reduced backspin, which will give me that perfect punch shot, maybe knockdown shot. So ball slightly further forward, let's hit the shot, and then let's look at the numbers. So we can see there I've maintained my angle of attack much more similar to where I would be on a normal shot. So it's still a very, very good angle of attack, nice and shallow at 3.7 degrees down. My spin loft has come down, so it's launched at 13.6, but my spin loft's down to 21.5. The backspin's dropped down to just over 4,000. 76-yard peak height, so it's actually been a little bit lower as well. And as a result of that, I would maximize my distance more, but certainly not through hitting down more from controlling the loft of the club. Right then guys, so I mean very, very different for me. I mean certainly when I started playing it more like that, definitely felt I had a more consistent strike, definitely felt that I got more of my full distance, even though the trajectory was different, into the wind. There's obviously different ways you can play it by taking more clubs, swinging a little bit softer, kind of give you the same kind of idea. But if you are someone who maybe just wants to control flight and play that perfect punch or knockdown shot with the same club, certainly keeping that angle of attack shallow and then controlling the loft of the club more will definitely help you influence the flight better and influence what your golf ball does with much more control into the wind and crosswinds. So guys, very, very different, isn't it? Certainly from what hopefully a lot of you have been told, certainly different from what I was told as a kid. I was always told, move the ball back, hit down on it as much as possible. You know, I really, really struggled with that shot as a kid. And even though I was keeping the loft off, like we showed with the spin loft, there's no point in launching it lower if all I'm doing is just moving the whole spin loft wedge down. It's about closing that off a little bit to control the spin, control the trajectory, and ultimately hit those great shots into the wind or even on those crosswind shots. So guys, hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, like and share it. Comment below, I'll get back to as many people as I can. If you have enjoyed the content today, consider clicking the subscribe button. Remember to ring the notification bell as well though. You'll then find out as soon as I drop a new video. Follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.